Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. What you heard during the intro to this video was our own Nick Bowcott cranking through a diesel VH4 2 pedal straight into this OX Stomp pedal. Now, this is a brand new pedal from Universal Audio, and I have to tell you, I think it is super cool. I think it's the kind of thing that every guitar player is going to want to have in their gig bag as well as in their studio. Let's take a closer look. So what is the OX Stomp? The OX Stomp is basically the digital brain from the OX box. The OX box is a very popular amp attenuator as well as direct recording and direct out solution that Universal Audio makes to use with amplifiers. Now, the OX Stomp does not include the attenuation or the speaker load section. It just includes the digital part. So it has the speaker IRs, it has the microphones, it has the compressor, the EQ, the delay, the reverb, all those different sections that process the sound and make it sound like you're actually playing through an amplifier. Now, this allows us a very versatile solution for a lot of different situations. As you saw with Nick, you can plug a preamp pedal of some sort, in his case the diesel, straight into this. You could use any of a number of different amp emulation pedals straight in. You could use this as an alternate option with another modeler if you like, even with one of Universal Audio's UFX pedals, like their Dream pedal would be a great example. If you want more control over the IRs and more IRs, this would be a great solution to pair with that. I've got it set up here with a Syn 1 from Synergy, and this allows me to put different amplifier modules in, run line out straight into the OX Stomp, and then in stereo straight into my DAW. Super easy for recording, and I can just switch modules in and out to get all kinds of different amp flavors. I've also got a Mesa Boogie Triple Crown 50 here, and we'll be coming direct out of that into the OX Stomp to hear what it sounds like when we're recording it straight into the DAW as well, with no speaker involved. So once again, to run down what we have here, this is the digital brains from the OX box. And everything is organized into what Universal Audio calls rigs. And a rig is comprised of a speaker IR, 2 microphones. Each of those microphones, you can have a different type of microphone, you can have different volume, etc. for those, and that's all controllable using an app that we'll take a look at a little bit later. In addition, a rig includes room mics. It also has a master EQ, a master studio compressor, an 1176 style compressor, a very flexible delay with a lot of different types of delays that you can apply to the signal, and finally a plate reverb to give you that polished studio sound. So you can really deliver a final finished guitar tone straight to your tracks or straight into the sound system at your gig. It makes a great solution for silent stages, for in the studio, for practicing, rehearsing. Once again, I think it's something that every guitar player is going to want to have. The way the pedal is set up, we have 6 different rigs that you can load into 6 different preset settings here on the front panel. It comes with 6 loaded in there, and using the app you can swap in as many different types as you like. A total of 6 are available here using this rotary knob. Just turn the knob to call up a different rig, which includes all those things that we talked about before, the speaker, the microphones, the room mics, all the effects. We have control over the 2 mics right here on the front panel. We can select among 3 different mic choices using the switches, and then we have a level control for each of those mics as well. We've got a room mic volume level here, and we have a nice control here that's called speaker drive, and this allows us to affect the dynamic response as well as the speaker breakup. So dialing that in can really bring life to your speaker IRs. Finally, we have the master output. Now, the inputs and outputs on this pedal are mono or stereo in and mono or stereo out, so it's versatile in a lot of different ways there as well. And I've used it with everything from a instrument level signal coming out of a pedal to a line level signal coming out of a preamp, so it'll support a wide range of different things. You could even insert this on a send and return with your audio interface in your DAW to process tracks you've already recorded with new IRs, new speaker settings, new microphones, and so on. There are 2 switches on the front panel, and by default, these engage or disengage 2 different IRs. So this turns off IR-A, this turns on and off IR-B. Now, using the app, we can access a variety of different things that these switches can do. For example, we could have those switches turn 2 different effects on and off while the speaker stays on all the time. We could even set this up to where the switches are giving us access to 4 different rigs that we can call up. So if you're changing sounds and you want to have a different speaker setup, different microphone setup, you can do all that using these switches. We'll take a closer look at that later. That's really all there is. Very simple to operate right from the front panel. The main thing is to store your 6 rigs here that you want, and then you can fine-tune them using the controls on the front. And that allows us things like playing through this Fryette Deliverance module from the Synergy Syn 1. really feels like an amp, it sounds like an amp, it responds like an amp. I mean, to me, it's totally convincing. And I tell you, drop that into a mix, there's no way you're gonna know that wasn't an amplifier that was recorded with a microphone. Hit the channel button. Of course, I have a totally different second sound here with this module. Now, I should say that all you're hearing here is just the speaker and the microphones. I don't have any effects being applied here. There's no compression, no delay, no reverb, obviously, no EQ. This is just the dry IRs, the microphones, and the speaker. This is a different setup than Nick was using. Nick's setup is under rig number 1, and it's actually a California-style 4x12 cabinet loaded with vintage 30s. Has some reverb on it, as you can hear. My setup is under rig 6, and it's a 75 watt Celestion 4x12 with no processing at all. Very different sound, but that shows you how much you can change the sound just by changing the rig. And if I hit the switch here, I'm accessing the B rig, which in this case is a 2x12 cabinet. Lots more room in that particular rig. Now let's go back to the rig that I was using before, which is rig number 6, and let's take a look at the app and see how we can really get into the parameters and fine-tune this to exactly what we want. So if we go over to the app, here are the 6 rigs. This is where you can assign those. Just hit the arrow to go to the factory library. There's tons of different rigs there. You also have a user library that you can choose from. You can save favorites and so on. So all those organizational things are here inside the app. But if we hit the edit button, now we have all the parameters available. So you can see across the top, I've got all my 4x12s here. I could also switch and look at 2x12s or 1x12s, so tons of different cabinets. And then we have our 2 microphones. In this case, we've got a condenser 414 on there, but we could switch that over and put a SM57, for example, onto mic 1. We've got a ribbon 121, but we could choose to make that a Bayer 160. Very different sound, right? Just choosing the microphones makes a big difference. So we can go back to our 414, go back to our 121. Lots of power right there. But now we can add in our room mics. So I've got stereo condenser mics here. I've got that turned down. We could bring the room mics in. That's with condenser stereos. We could go to ribbon stereo mics. I kind of like that, but let's back it off a little bit. It just adds a little space around those microphones. Now, if we scroll down, we see our effects section here. We've got a master output level, of course. We have a master EQ. We can engage that and then look at the settings. It's a 4-band EQ plus a high cut and a low cut filter that you can adjust. And that allows you to fine tune your rigs for different environments. You might have one set of rigs for a particular venue, another set for when you're practicing at home, and so on. And you can fine tune all of that with the EQ to match it with the environment that you're playing in. All right, so we'll turn that back off. Not using it in this case. We also have an 1176 compressor here. If we turn that on and open it up, we can see we have our input, our output, attack and release times, and our ratio. And that can really thicken things up as well. So that compressor can really add a lot to our signal as well. And then we have our stereo delay. Stereo or mono. Now I've got a dual delay here. We could make that a ping pong delay. We could link the delay times. We have control over feedback of the mix, of course, as well. We could add modulation. We've got control over rate and depth for that. And then finally, we have our plate reverb here as our last effect. We've got control over the decay time, all the parameters you need for that bass and treble decay as well. So we could drop the bass response down a little bit. finished, we can save this rig. Just click, we can save a copy, we could mark this as one of our favorites and so on. And then it's very easy again to assign that to a particular rig setting on the pedal itself so that it's always there. So you can choose among any of the factory presets. They have here tons and tons of those. These are my user presets, so you can see where I've saved my rig as well as Nick's rig and so on. Our favorites are stored over here, so if we've, for example, marked things as a favorite, they'll show up there, makes them very easy to find. So that organizational aspect of the app is very nice as well. You can have tons of rigs and then choose any 6 to have actually loaded into the pedal at any given time. And one last thing we want to look at is the settings tab. So if we pop over there, this is where we see the foot switch mode, and this gives us control over what those foot switches are doing. So we can switch between the A and the B preset here on the front panel. We can use it to bypass and engage the display and the reverb. We can use those 2 switches to choose among 4 different rigs. We could also have A-B on one switch and the other bypassing and engaging the delay effect, the reverb effect, or all the effects. So those foot switches can be very versatile, and it's all controlled from right here inside the app. Let's go back. Actually, let's assign that to our effects on and off. And now, very handy for when you're on stage. Now back to our app and the setups page. We can also save a backup of all of our settings and all of our rigs. We have information about the particular aux we have. We can access online help, and we can reset the pedal back to factory settings. Now this communicates using built-in Bluetooth that's in the pedal to connect with the UAFX app, the same app that you use with any of Universal Audio's UAFX pedals. One final thing we should note, there actually is a USB-C port on the back of the pedal, but that's just used for firmware updates, so we're not using that for any other applications. Now one more application I want to show you here. I have a Mesa Boogie Triple Crown 50 here in front of me. Now this amplifier does have the cab clone built into it, but we could also route out and run it through the OX Stomp. Now to do this, I'm actually turning off the speaker using the switch on the back. There's a built-in load with this amplifier. You cannot run a speaker level signal into this pedal. It has to be instrument or line level. Then I'm actually taking the effects send from the amplifier and routing that in. So I'm just using this Triple Crown as a preamp. Here's what it sounds like. So we've got our clean channel from the Triple Crown. Channel 2. And channel 3. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the OX Stomp pedal. This is just so versatile. Once you start thinking of ways to use it, I think you're just going to be using it constantly. Whether you're putting it on a pedal board and using it with another modeler, using it with a preamp pedal, however you're setting it up on a board, it can be a great silent solution. Whether you're using it with a preamp like the Synergy system or another standalone preamp, you can feed that straight in for recording or for use on stage. You can use it if your amplifier has a direct output. Again, no speaker level going into this, just line level or instrument level. But if you have that option with your amplifier, you can feed it in here. It makes a great capture device or a live sound option, because playing through an amplifier still gives you that actual front end touch and response when you plug your guitar in. It's a very cool way to work. So be sure to check this out. I think that Universal Audio has a big hit with the OX Stomp. As you can tell, I'm very excited about it. Definitely going to be taking one home for myself. If you want to learn more about the OX Stomp, jump over to Sweetwater.com or talk to your Sweetwater sales engineer. They can give you all the details about this incredible pedal. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. To take us out, I've put a different module here into my Syn 1. I've got the DS module from Friedman.